Hi, y'all. It's Tara. I'm coming back with a non-perfume discussion. So if you don't like my non-perfume stuff, maybe you want to sit it out. But if you want to know how I'm feeling and let me know how you're feeling right now, then yeah, we can have a discussion or whatever. So as you know, I've been living with taking care of my parents who are just had health issues, and I'm splitting the time between my brother's place, which is where I am now, and my own place. And uh I do one of the unexpected things that came up, and I didn't expect this because it's so new to me, is that I would actually enjoy cooking. So the thing is, I used to be a total type of person that would be jumping into the cooking arena because I I s- I think I have this thing where things that are complex and interesting with history and complexity and have a lot of things to collect and buy, I tend to gravitate towards that, and cooking is one of these. And I loved collecting cookbooks. I love watching recipes. I love the history and the culture that comes with it. So, I used to buy all these condiments and all these things and the problem with me with that is as a hobby, it's good, but it was also kind of frustrating at the same time because I lived with a roommate who does not eat anything that I like to eat, and is also very unadventurous, and has a very limited palate, which is fine, to each their own. But I don't know if you guys have tried to cook for one person. Um, I didn't realize that, a lot of the grocery stores back then, this was a while ago. If you didn't go to Trader Joe's or one of these city places where they sell small portions, and a lot of variety of cuisines and stuff like that for single people. If you go to a regular grocery store, it's more um, catered to people that are trying to feed families. So if you make one portion of something and you following YouTube recipe or recipe from a cookbook, it usually fits serves like four or more at one time. So I remember a lot of the stuff I made, I got so sick of having to eat. Even if I froze it and ate it later, it was I got so sick of the stuff, you know what I mean? And they were such in large quantities. Another thing is because I'm just one person, the condiments would always kind of expire before I can use them up. So I'd always have to you know, move out the old condiments and move in new ones. So after a while, I just got so sick of having to do that and the waste and everything that I started just eating out or ordering things in. You know what I mean? And I would go out to a Chinese restaurant because they have a lot more variety and they sell a lot of different type of veggies, and you know that I would just order four entrees, and it would come with free with a soup and with a rice already made. So I would eat these meals, put it in the fridge or freeze it. I would eat these meals for like 10 meals or something like that. And I would always have a little bit of variety because I would have various dishes, and each dish would have be vegetables and a little bit of meat or something, or fish or tofu or whatever. They would have a lot of different textures, and they would be somewhat healthy, you know what I mean? And the good thing about that is I didn't have to wash a lot of dishes, you know what I mean? I would just throw away the takeout packages. And because I was only one person, one takeout order would pretty much last me the majority of a week. And then the rest of the time I would just make, small things of whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that was my MO for the last 2, 3 years. And I cannot, I really enjoyed it because um, it allowed me to have more variety in my diet, and it also freed up a lot of my time. Uh, and in terms of and resources, in terms of like I didn't have to buy a lot of groceries that I had to waste. I didn't have to spend all a lot of time preparing food because I would just heat it up. And also because like I could have a variety of foods, and it was relatively cheap for, what I got in return. Like if I had to buy all these vegetables and all these meats and all these condiments and all this rice and stuff, I would be spending a lot of money individually. Another thing is I didn't have to grocery shop. I didn't have to like pay higher bills in terms of like, cooking stuff all the time. I didn't have to buy a lot of like unused condiments. And also, I didn't have to think, every day using my brain energy to come up with like new recipes and stuff like that. However, one of the pros, but I did kind of like cooking, you know what I mean? But because of the lack of practicality for a single person, I kind of stopped doing it. And it was okay. But what I discovered like dealing with having parents that, they don't go out to eat, they have special like needs, like, things need to be cooked kind of softer because their teeth aren't that good. They wear dentures or something, and they won't eat certain foods, is that I'm enjoying cooking more now. And because I'm cooking for 3 people, like 3 meals a day, and sometimes even my brother, 4 people, it's a lot more enjoyable. And I'm, you know, getting a kick out of it, And one of the things that I am enjoying is like taking a rotisserie chicken and eating it till the last like drops of like I would just eat everything, use the chicken like to make all sorts of chicken dishes without having to cook the chicken myself. And then I would take the chicken carcass and I would make a stock out of it. So I'm learning a lot of stuff, like how to make the best stock. And the best stock is you do not let it boil violently. You let it simmer for many, many hours. If you boil it, it becomes cloudy and bitter. Um, and I learned that the hard way. So now I know how to cook chicken stock. And yeah, so I don't know. This is giving me like, it's giving me like a boost. I don't know. It's so funny. And also, I wanted to share 2 recipes that are like kind of like clean the refrigerator type of recipes, and what to do with like little leftover bits and pieces. Um, Many years ago, like I think more than 10 years ago, I went to this like conference. I don't even really know what it's about, but maybe it was like an empowering women's conference. But it was the only 2 things that I remembered from there was uh, they sold a suitcase that was really interestingly structured, and which I bought, but I never really used, and I gave it away to someone else. But the other one was a lifetime like recipe that I use all the time that uses up like leftovers. So basically, if you're eating like me and you love like French bread or bread, you have stale bread or not moldy, but it's kind of hard, especially the heels of French bread. You know how if you don't eat it within a few days, and you don't keep it in like a moist environment, it gets like hard as a rock. Or you have like a bunch of rolls that you didn't want to eat and you were saving it, and then all of a sudden like in 1 or 2 days it's like hard as rock. Well, don't throw those away. What you do is you take the hard bread or stale bread. You can even use store slices, but I really like using the French bread because it has a nice crust. You soak it in uh you soak it, entirely in some milk. So if you don't have milk and you have some like cream, you just use a little bit of cream and you put some water in it to like dilute it. But I use milk, and then you crack an egg. So sometimes if you want something eggier, you can crack 2 eggs or you can crack 1 egg, whatever, right? So you crack an egg and then you use like your hands and you kind of like massage the soaked hard bread that was in the milk, and you massage the egg into it, and then it becomes like a kind of like a batter. And then what you do is whatever you have in your fridge, like you have some withered like cheese heels or something, you grate it into it. You have some like 1 or 2 mushrooms. You can't make a dish out of that, right? So you just cut up the mushrooms and you like saute it, and then you just throw the mushrooms in. You have a bunch of like stuff that you bought, on a whim because you didn't really know, but then you can't really don't know what to do with it, like sun-dried tomatoes, you know what I mean? You just cut them up into bits and you throw it in. And then all these things, like, if you have salad greens like lettuce, kale, spinach, whatever, I just throw it in. And then you put some seasoning, whatever seasonings. I like to put fennel. I like to put like salt and pepper. And like, I like to put like paprika, or how like one time I made some Korean soup and they use that kind of like red pepper flakes, and I just throw the red pepper flakes in it. Anything, potatoes, garlic, whatever you like, leftover veggies, green beans, carrots, peas, whatever. You just saute it, you season it, and then you throw it in, and then you just mush it into the batter, right? And then you just throw it into the oven and you just bake it. And then when you stick a toothpick in and the toothpick in the middle comes out like clean, then it's like done. Or even if you like it a little bit more liquidy, it can still be slightly like, so what it does is it's called bread pudding. And that's what people used to make, you know what I mean, to eat up all the junk that they have at their house. Like dried up pepperoni, you have like messed up, you have a few pieces, like 1 or 2 pieces of like lunch meat, you know what I mean? Yeah, you just fry it up and you throw it in there, cut it up and throw it in there. And this is not just a savory dish. You can use, like, if you have raisins, you have like fruit, apples or something like that. You saute the apples with some like sugar, brown sugar and cinnamon, and you just throw it in there. You know what I mean? Or zest up like some lemon, like skins or citrus skins or something like that, citrus rind, and throw it in there and put some sugar, brown sugar, maple syrup, whatever. And it becomes a sweet like dish. And it's basically a good way to use up like old stale stuff. You know what I mean? You kind of like reinvented the bread. You kind of made a stale piece of bread into like a delicious, like nutritious meal. So yeah, that's all you need. Basically, you need some sort of bread or cookies, maybe even cookies would work. I don't know. I've never tried it. But you use bread and then, water, not water, but a liquid, ideally milk, I think. Milk and eggs, and then you use the bread. So what happens is when you bake the bread in the oven, it rises again. You know what I mean? Like you're baking a new thing of bread. And then the top of it rises up, and then it will get crispy on top from the, I use a toaster oven. So the inside will be like moist and gooey and kind of soft depending on what you put in there. And the outside will be like, the crust on top will be kind of crispy. So yeah, I just put those into like, if you have like little ramekins, you can do separate ramekins. And then if they're on the heavier side, you know what I mean? They're dense, depending on what you put in. They can be a little bit lighter, I guess, if you put in more like eggs, I don't know, something like that. You can experiment. But yeah, if you put more eggs in, it tastes more quiche-like. But if you put less eggs in, and then it's like fluffier or something like that, then it tastes more like cake or like a lighter casserole. But anyways, if you're starving and that's what you have, I highly recommend it. I've made this dish like so many times. I've used nuts, like leftover nuts of all types. You know what I mean? Sometimes like I just put like dollops. If I don't have a lot of milk, I would just put like dollops of cream cheese and kind of like water it down with a little bit of water. And, it sometimes doesn't turn out that great. Sometimes I put too much stuff in, and sometimes it comes out like amazing. But either way, if you're like hungry and you don't want to eat like a hard heel of bread, drink like 3 mouthfuls of milk, and you have only one egg, and you want something a little bit different and use a little bit of creativity, there's that. So yeah, so that's my non-perfume thing that I wanted to share. All right, well, have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.